this episode. This is now after the proving and after everything inside of Mother's Heart or Crown, whatever the inside of the mountain is called, or the last three episodes, which are 5 through 7, I think it is. Now, there was a lot that we, saw through cutscenes and stuff like that. I was reviewing the episodes on what I talked about during those episodes. Even though I did not talk about much, I didn't want to really repeat myself in these episodes talking about, what happened and what went through. So I kind of have a script. Well, not actually a script. It's more like a list of things that I didn't talk about during those cutscenes and things I want to cover and things I want to talk about and kind of theories that I was thinking about. And so that's what this is basically going to be. So back in episode 5, I think I mentioned that I was looking through the tapes or the episode, and I saw that I forgot to mention about something that I thought about, but I didn't mention it, which was back when Ross showed us the last episode, showed us the last lesson, right before we left during the night, and the guys opened the gate. Something that I realized was, who opened the gate? Like, he whistled and didn't have any conversation with anybody, and then he mentioned that some of the Braves saw it after not good things, but like pride or like accomplishments before banishment. And so I was wondering, like, who went after this, like, glory? Like, what does that mean? Like, they went after this glory and they got it before they were banished, or they were banished but they were looking for glory. I'm not really 100% sure what he meant by that. I'm not fully aware of what that meant. But yeah, that was something that I found very strange, or not strange, but just straight up interesting. But the fact that Rost, who is an outcast for now life, now is a person who still has connections to these I guess I would say group of people who are Braves, but listen to outcasts or respect outcasts to a certain extent, or even respect or listen to him. Now, when the first time I was playing this game, I was actually surprised about when we went to speak to Ross before entering Mother's Heart or Mother's Crown or whatever it's called. I was surprised about how much that Ross knew before we said goodbye. So, like, he knew about the whole, like, oh, this is they're gonna be a huge party, there's gonna be many people, more than you're used to, this and that. And I was very shocked by that. But now thinking about it, like, now in hindsight, I'm realizing that that's not a surprise, because not only this is something that was absolutely necessary before he became an outcast, he needed to be the type of guy who knew, he needed to be a part of the tribe at some point or another. And so it's no longer a surprise to be like, oh yeah, how did he know this type of information? But what makes me think is that, how is it that, like, how can I say this? How is it that he knew about the child outcast can go do the proving and become a member of society? The reason I asked that, because Ross knew about this, and yet Teresa, when we spoke to her inside of the whole Mother's Heart, she mentioned that not many people use this, like, law, and I'm assuming people don't use it because people don't know about it. The reason people don't know about it is because there's not many people who are outcasts. So this is not a law that has been really mentioned much, and yet even outcasts don't necessarily use it often as well, because there's nobody, or not nobody, but she mentioned there was one kid who killed his mom and he was an outcast, but he didn't show up. And I'm assuming because that's not something people talk about. That's not something that people go, oh yeah, you're an outcast, well, one, I'm gonna speak to you and break the law, and two, when I speak to you, I'm gonna let you know about, the fact that you can come back to the tribe, you can come back to noticing, that you can be a member of society now. And so that's something that surprises me, because, like, how did Ross know about that? How did Ross prepare us, since a young age? Which, let's say Aloy is 18. When she was probably like 5-ish, she wanted to beat the proving, which means something about 10 years he's known this. and he's trained us to beat the proving or to win the proving. So that's something that's interesting to me, which ends up leading me to think like we don't actually, or not think, but this is something that I didn't realize, which was we don't know much about Ross. Like legitimately, the Ross told us a little bit about how in the first ever cutscene he mentioned that he had a daughter, and the thing he gave us was, I guess, from his daughter or for his daughter. And yet, something I noticed is, other than that, we don't have any other information. Why is Ross banished? That's not revealed to us neither by Ross nor by the High Matriarch. And the reason is because Ross and the High Matriarchs, and I think it's all three of them if I remember correctly, they have been sworn to secrecy to some shape or form. And so since they're sworn to secrecy, they no longer, they don't talk about this, even if it's something that potentially could be mentioned or could be talked about. And that's not, because Ross doesn't tell us anything, and when we confront Teresa about it or we ask Teresa about it, that's also not not mentioned. Even in fact, people know about Ross being banished, but don't know the reason. Like when we spoke to Kars way back when, he mentioned that people know that the fact that he's an outcast, but nobody really remembers or knows why he's an outcast. They don't really know, you know, what he did to get to that position. But what they do know is that it has to be, or what they assume is that it has to be very serious, because he has a full, like he can't come back for all of his life. Like he's banished for life. And so that's something that makes me think about that. Why is it that the High Matriarchs and Ross are sworn to this secrecy? Like what is it that they have in common, or what is it that they know that nobody really knows? Talking about that, since the High Matriarchs are somehow connected to Ross in some shape or form, at least in his outcasting, what I realize is Teresa is the only one of the three that when it comes to Ross, she's the only one who kind of not goes to his aid, but sort of is more favorable to him, which makes me want to believe that something is going on between Teresa and Ross. Because why is it that Ross is favored by Teresa when he's an outcast, you know? And we also ended up finding out that the High Matriarchs are made because they're great grandmothers, which is, by the way, a feature that I really enjoy. Because if you think about it, this is a government or a tribe that has a government based on your parental power, and as a woman you have the power to produce children and produce life, sort of like how All Mother is. And so you're very close to how God would be, or like All Mother would be. And so being a grandmother, you have a lot of life under you. You have a lot of life that covers you basically. And so that's something very interesting to me. But it also makes me think, if she's very inclined or more nicer to Ross, I guess, to a certain extent, why? My belief is maybe there's a chance that Teresa and Ross used to be a thing, and maybe they weren't a thing in the sense that they were lovers or they were partners, but what if they grew up together? Just like, let's say I was gonna say me and Teb, but then that's not, Teb is not of the same age group. Or matter of fact, me, Bast, and Vala, except Bast and Vala are both not outcasts, so you know, we're not really connected to them. But like, that's something that's interesting. Like, I want to know if they do have a thing. And she was the one who but also provided the the graveyard and the flowers for Ross, even though the other one, I don't remember their names, man. It was Teresa and I don't know, Samantha. I don't know the other two names, but the other two weren't really inclined to like give Ross a funeral of some kind. So that's something that, you know, is interesting. Like I would like to know more about. When we made it to Mother's Heart, something that caught my interest was the fact that we were told by Ross there was going to be a whole bunch of people in there. I expected to have much more merchants available to me, in the sense that I can use merchants to kind of find like the best deal and use that potential power to sort of how can I say, um, help us make the best deal and buy certain things that we may need, even on ultra hard. But that's something that wasn't available. Although we did have Karst, I think is how you say his name. We did have Karst. He did mention, "Hey, I'm gonna give you the best deal." I kind of wish that there were other vendors or sellers or whatever that we could potentially talk to, that, you know, if we talk to them, let's say in a certain way, we can get a deal or something like that. That would have been a cool little addition, but I'm pretty happy with how things turned out. Let me see. Yeah, so something else that I realized was I really love that Ted and Kars was one of the few people who actually treated us nice. And you can include Teresa into there, and I'll explain later why I include Teresa in there. But other than that, literally everyone else are kind of just like, whatever, you're an outcast, don't talk to me type of thing, including Rushed, I think it's called Rush. His name is he becomes the new war chief after Sonya is gone. And so that's something that I kind of appreciate, because Teb, I didn't remember him, to be honest, but Teb is the kid we saved when he was testing for the proving. And then Karst is the merchant that we traded with, even though he wasn't technically allowed to trade with us. He is somebody we traded with. And so I'm glad that they came around and kind of gave us the time to be like, yeah, I'm still going to talk to you, I'm still going to be your friend, and I'm still going to do these type of things. So that's something I really did enjoy, and I really did actually like about the story, because it maintained a general understanding that this is what we, not what we do, but this is what is going to be the story, and we're not going to like ruin the story. Alright, so let's watch this cutscene.
Watch yourselves! Bring it closer! Closer!
Varl, I take it?
Am I seeing things? Or were you riding that Strider when you came through the gate?
I was. It's hard to explain.
I imagine so. Strange times we live in. We who've survived. I recognize you, of course. Aloy, the outcast who won the proving. I'm glad to see you survived your wounds.
High Matriarch Tirsa said you might know the way to Meridian.
The capital of the Carja Sundom? You seek exile?
No. A traitor named Olin. The Matriarchs made me a seeker so I could go after him.
Huh. Well, then you should head north to Mother's Crown. If you make it, talk to Maria. She'll point the way.
If I make it?
The trail is dangerous. Ever since the War Party massacre, our lands go unpatrolled, and our borders unguarded. We have no war chief to lead us.
Isn't that Resh's job?
Ugh. Only because Sona went missing. I'd go after her myself, but she ordered me to hold this gate with my life. And so I have.
You said the war party was massacred. How?
When word came of the attack on the Proving, War Chief Sona assembled a war party to give chase. But in their haste to get vengeance, some braves broke rank and raced ahead, straight into a trap. A pack of crazed machines, seething with corruption, fell upon the braves and savaged them. War Chief Sona led a countercharge and destroyed the machines, but by then the killers were gone, and our losses were extreme.
You said War Chief Sona is missing?
Even when the war party was massacred, she wouldn't give up the chase. She called for volunteers and went after the killers.
You didn't volunteer?
Of course I did, but Sona denied me that. She ordered me to see the wounded back to the Embrace, and to guard this gate, to guard the Embrace with my life. That was days ago, and since then there's been no word from her.
So there's no way to know if she's alive or dead.
If anyone could survive out there, it would be her. Sona's prowess is legend, an unbending spear to measure ourselves against.
Sounds like she sets a high standard.
Ugh, you have no idea. She's my mother.
You said the trail is dangerous. What sorts of dangers?
Almost too many to name. The killers are still out there, and somehow they've corrupted the machines, spreading madness.
Yes, I've seen it myself.
Bandits, too. Cutthroats who snuck across the border to prey on us. The word is, there's a camp in the metal ruins upriver.
Sounds like I need to craft more arrows. You said I won the proving. How did you know that?
I spoke to survivors. He said you fought bravely, as did Bast. And my sister.
Your sister was Bala? I'm very sorry. I liked her. I think we might have even become friends. If we'd had a chance.
Thank you. She died saving others. There is no better death.
I should be on my way.
Aloy, before you make the journey to Mother's Crown and beyond, is there any chance you could search for Sona? The tribe needs her leadership. I'd go after her myself if she hadn't commanded me to hold this gate at all costs.
Where was she last seen?
The War Party massacre site, a wooded hollow across from Devil's Thirst, on this side of the river. You might be able to pick up her trail there. She went after the killers who attacked the Proving, who killed those we love, who tried to kill you.
I get it, Varl. I'll see what I can do.
So we were also introduced to different things like the Karja, Aaron, Olin, or the Oseram, and a whole bunch of other information. So to kind of just speed through this, because I know there will be a quick cutscene right after.
May the goddess protect.
I was actually wondering, like, when we spoke to the High Matriarch, Tirsa, we learned that the outcasting is an attempt to be more humane than to be like, or a more humane punishment than like just killing the person for what they've done, right? So like outcast, like the boy who killed his mother wouldn't just be murdered, he would be outcasted and still have a chance to actually come back. When she spoke about that, it kind of made sense, but you know, going back to what Aloy said, like you spend 18 years in the wilds on your own with a village or a tribe that doesn't want you, doesn't care about you, it does something to you. So, you know, is death more, I guess, important or inclined to be preferred than actual banishment? That's something that I would kind of like to know. Like personally, I think banishment I would maybe prefer, because you still get to live a life, you still get to do things. They may not be exactly how you want them to be, but it is 100% possible to still live your life. And if you're banished, especially for life, you can literally just leave the Nora tribe and go somewhere else. So that's an idea.
This'll last.
Are you alright, Hunter? Were you injured when the war party was ambushed?
Not exactly. And I'm not a hunter, or a brave, or anything really. You shouldn't even be talking to me.
Well, whoever you are, you're hurt. What happened?
My name's Kren. I thought I'd have a go at the trials at the hunting grounds over the rise, you know, hone my skills. It didn't go very well.
Why did you say you weren't anything at all, and that I shouldn't talk to you?
I stole a bow, okay? And got cast out. This was before the Proving, so now I can't even fight for my tribe in its time of need. I have to live in the wild by myself, which is why I wanted some training. Honestly, I'm just glad the Keeper would talk to me. I think he might be in exile or something. He doesn't seem to care about the laws of the matriarchs.
Things aren't exactly going your way, are they? Is there anything I can do to help?
No. I'll be all right. My father always said All Mother had a plan for me. Before he got run over by a strider, anyway.
You got injured at a hunting grounds? How?
Well, I was aiming for a canister in the back of a grazer, and my bowstring snapped, and I tripped, and... forget it. It wasn't pretty, okay? I just wanted to train a bit. Hunting grounds are perfect for that. They offer trials, which are like challenges, and they give you marks if you accomplish objectives or beat certain times. The keep is up there on the hill, just to the north. Talk to him to do a trial. I'm sure you'd do better than I did.
I need to get going, Kren.
All right. Be careful, especially if you're heading north. And be sure to hit the hunting grounds if you want to train up.
Now, did you also notice that when we spoke to Teresa, or when we asked her questions about, like, let's say Ross or the reason behind our own banishment, she couldn't answer us. Like, she gave us very bits and pieces.
They know I'm here now.
About, I guess, the reason why the other matriarch doesn't like us and stuff like that, but she didn't really give us much about Rost or even our banishment. It wasn't until after the attack is when she revealed this information to us, and even though it wasn't fully agreed upon by all three matriarchs, 2 out of the 3 matriarchs agreed that this should happen. Now that has me believe that even though she may not be the best, she does have her best interest for us into a certain extent. And what that means is she's not that bad of a person. She was really just following the laws of Nora, or the Nora's tribe, and couldn't speak about certain things, especially like stuff like Ross, where it was sworn to secrecy. But she still had the the dignity to tell us and be like, hey, you have to know about this stuff, and you have to be aware because you just been attacked, and this is something that's important because you may be able to save us. So that's something that, like, I'm pretty cool about. By the way, did you notice, I feel like Aaron, when we were speaking to him during those cutscenes and getting to know about the Oseram and Red Raids and blah blah blah, that I felt like he was kind of flirting with us. Like, I felt like he was trying to get our number, bro. Like, and that's something that makes me laugh because I'm like, that's cool, because like there won't be, at least not that I'm aware of, there won't be really any relationships availability in this game, but it's cool to know that like characters still have the, ooh, like, I think she's cute, let me talk to her type of thing, which is something that maybe sometimes gets looked over by a lot of games, but for, like, I really did enjoy that. I really did like that. We got to learn about the Sun Kings, and I think the guy was named Irid or something like that. He was the guy in the red, like, cape stuff, or the red wear, and he was the one who was explaining to us about everything about the Sun King and Meridian and stuff like that, as well as Aaron did. What I found interesting about the Sun King is actually, hold up, I think, hold up, I'm looking for something real quick. Yeah, see, I knew I had to open these. So some of the things that I kind of realized was when Irid, I think his name is, he spoke to us about how the Sun King works and the Sun God works, and the religion in Meridian, and I found it very similar to how our religion works here in real life. Like, you know, we believe in something and we follow it, and it's an interesting perspective to not only know the truth, like what really is these things, because we don't worship machines and we don't worship a sun, but seeing that what they're worshiping is wrong, it's kind of interesting to see, like, if somebody knew the 100% of the truth of what we're worshiping and how we're worshiping, you know, would we be looking weird? Would we be looking like, yo, what you're doing is not even like that's just normal information? And talking about normal information, that also teaches you or shows you that how far we have fallen and went back to the old ages, because in the old worlds the sun is a very common information. In fact, that's very common here now. Actually, you know what, I'll hold that thought so you guys can know more about this.
I spoke to Kren. He told me this is a hunting grounds where you offer tests of skill.
Poor Kren. Not the best hunter, but at least he keeps his chin up. You bear the mark of a seeker. I've heard of those, but never seen one. You have the matriarch's leave to come and go as you like from the sacred land?
Yes, but I would have gone even without their permission.
Is that so? Then maybe you and I can speak plainly. Truth is, I've had dealings with the Karja. I represent an organization called the Hunter's Lodge in Meridian. We test promising young hunters with trials at places like these. You might be just the kind of person we're looking for. Why don't you sample the trials and see? Just to be clear, though, I'd appreciate it if you kept our conversation in confidence, especially when it comes to the matriarchs.
You're not supposed to be here, are you?
No. My friend and I left the sacred land and returned. The matriarchs wouldn't approve, to say the least. We're hunters at heart. Left because we wanted to find new herds and new machines. That's why the Hunter's Lodge appealed to us. But the Carja wouldn't have us if they knew we were Nora, so we wore Carja clothes when we brought our marks to them. After a while, it felt like we were caught between worlds. Not quite Carja, not quite Nora. We started to miss home. So we came back and set up our own hunting grounds.
You think it'll work? Staying here without the matriarch's permission?
I'm not sure. But we don't believe in their rules. There's a big world out there, and ignoring it doesn't help anyone.
What is the Hunter's Lodge?
It's a group of hunters who compete to bring down the mightiest machines in the land, run by the Carja in Meridian. You can see it yourself if you win 3 half-suns from the hunting grounds. Just to warn you, though, they're not fond of Nora.
Tell me about the trials.
The Hunter's Lodge hosts hunting ground trials throughout the world, each offering hunters a chance to test their skills.
What do I get for completing them?
Pride in accomplishment, as well as marks, depending on how well you fare. Here, we offer the tools trials.
What kind of tools?
Hunting isn't just about your bow. It's about using everything available to you, even your surroundings. You'll see once you start taking the trials. Choose your trial, and I'll tell you how it works. Test your skill with bow and arrow by shooting parts off the backs of grazers as quickly as possible. This trial tests your ability to use the environment to your advantage. Shoot log piles to make them fall, crushing machines below. Remember, you can use explosions from your blast sling to scare machines into fleeing where you want them to go. Hope you enjoy it. I'll start timing when you slide down one of the ropes.
But yeah, that also shows you like how much this game is been, like how far humanity in this universe has gone back into the Dark Ages. Like the sun is very common information. The sun, we already know how it works, what it is, and everything. And yet here, there is an entire tribe that dedicates their faith into a sun that we know as it's a gas. And so we don't see it anymore as like this god thing, but we see it as a thing, a part of astronomy. It's the core of, you know, solar systems and this and that. And so it does really prove a lot. And like some of the stuff that you find that like people are like, oh, like this the door that Teresa was worshiping when Aloy was looking into when Aloy was revealed who her mother is to a certain extent. That is interesting because to us that's just a door with an automated voice, and yet here none of that information is known. None of that information is even being like aware. And so like that's something that's kind of not ridiculous, but it's crazy in our head, because like we see that and we go, yeah, how is it that you believe in this? How is it that you believe in this type of, you know, door, that it's a god, when it's just a door with an automated voice? You know, we also learn about the Sun Kings, which, well, more specifically 13 and 14. I don't think we learned anything about the older ones, but we learned about them. And so we learned that the 13th king was the reason behind the Red Raids. He created the Red Raids because the corruption or the aggression of the machines were getting worse and worse. which ended up leading the 13th king or Sun King to start the Red Raids and use sacrifices to try to calm the corruption or try to calm the aggression of the machines at the time, so it can sort of save the population. But this makes me think, because like, how is it that you're supposed to like kidnap these people from these tribes and not expect a form of repercussion from that? Like, did you not think about the actions that or did it think that your actions will have some form of reaction? You know, how would the tribes treat you after doing this? And how far are you so committed to this idea, this thought, that, you know, you go as far as like your son, your next king has to kill you, not even just, you know, put you away or try to, you know, reason with you, but they had to kill you. And out of all people, your own child had to kill you to take over the throne, to deal with the things that you committed to. You know, that's kind of crazy to me, because like it's just crazy. Like, it really is. Also, you know, we learned that the aggression of the machines actually started kicking up only a couple years, which, if you think about it, Aloy is not that old, which means to me that Aloy, like, I feel like Aloy's birth, or how we was taught that Aloy's Aloy's was born from the mountain, or was born from the machine in some shape or form. And how is it that her, I guess, upbringing or beginnings, or even the fact that she was born, would that have been the trigger of how the machine started getting more aggressive and started getting worse, where it led the 13th king to kill and to have sacrifices just to try to calm it down, or calm the machines down, or worship the sun god a little bit more, so the god can kind of take care of that situation. Now, one of the last people we learned about in the expedition is Olin. He's the guy who had the focus in this here. Now, he was or is really, because he's still alive, he is a scavenger. He's a guy who goes into the old worlds or old tomb things, and we learned that he got that focus from there, just like we did. And yet, he felt like one of the few people who we wanted to speak to, we wanted to get to know more about, and yet that was just like, he just wanted to get rid of us. And then later we end up finding out that his focus was connected somehow, in some shape or form, to the killers who attacked us and killed all the people who was taking the proving test, you know, who killed Ross, then attacked the Nora. You know, they saw us through his focus, and then we're connected to this lady who was same red hair, you know, but shorter. She was somehow also a target, and we have something like a 98% or something like that DNA connection to this woman. Like, is this our mother? Why are we both being targeted for some strange reason? That's what something that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it acts like we have more questions than answer in this type of situation, you know. And then the facts of what abilities that the killers had. Like, the killers have the ability to corrupt, or the corruption machines follow them. They sort of listen to them, and they corrupt machines for them. As well as that they have the connection to the old world in some shape or form, because one of the guys brought a freaking minigun to a test, or to a group of kids trying to become adults. If you think about this, like, think about how many people they sent to be to kill us, to kill people from the Peruvian, to kill people from Nora's land, and they send all these people just for something as small as of a task of killing us. So how many people do they have? Like, what are their numbers? Because they send quite a lot of people. They send so many bowmen, so many melee guys, and yet only, I would say, what, one mini guy dude, and then a dude with a focus, and then the leader, who he's the one who stabbed Ross. Like, all of these people are a part of this group, and so that makes me wonder, like, who are these killers? Like, and because of their color palette, because of their color scheme, like they have a lot of the red, just like the Karja do. It makes me believe that the killers are part of like the tribe that the Red Raids used to attack, and so they were, you know, suffering through all these punishments that the Red Raids put them through, and they took a different route compared to like what the Nora did, where like we just hated them, but they took more an active like hatred towards the Karja. Or in fact, I just thought of this right now, what about if these killers are actually a part of the Karja, I guess, army, or a part of the 13th King's people? Because if you think about it, they do have the same color scheme, right? Since they have the same color scheme, there's possible that the 13th King, who's the one who also created the Red Raids, he's the one who had these men, or this group of people, kidnap people from the tribes and then also murder them for the sacrifice. And so when the 14th King took over, they no longer had a job, and maybe they were sent to exile or whatever the case may be, and they hated that, so they went after the people who hurt them, basically, which would include the tribesmen and include Karja, but they didn't get rid of their color scheme that they had. And oh damn, I got one shot at. That's just, damn, I hate that, yo. Like, it was literally just one kick and I died. Whatever. But yeah, so that's something that I find very like strange. Like, I want to know more about this, and also like how much blaze that they use. Like, you saw the explosion that killed Ross, so what is it that, like, do they have some type of, you know, blaze comes from striders and grazers, and so like certain machines have them, but like that means that they need to have some type of access to like a large herd or something where they can collect these blaze, so they can, you know, make into giant bombs like what they used it for. So like, what type of advantages, you know, they're very like, compared, like if you compare this to like a real life thing, they're sort of like a cult that doesn't have like a religious demand, because like the only form of religion that you saw from the killers was the head guy, or the leader who gave the commands. He told us when he like had his knife to our throat, he told us, look to the sun. He didn't say sun god, but maybe he was trying to say like, look to the sun god and, you know, ask for mercy while I kill you, or whatever the case may be. But that is literally the only inclination that they are a part of some form of religious group. But then they have these technological advances, like they have the focuses, they have the corruptors who corrupt machines for them, you know, that control machines for them. They have the miniguns, which comes from the old world, you know, and they have huge groups of people. So like, they're the most technologically advanced tribe or group of people in the game so far. And so like, their full intent seems just to be of murder and killing. Like, that's something that it's just like, wow. Like, I wanna, to be honest, I want to kill them all. like think about it. They killed Ross, bro. Like, that's a dub. Like, they killed Vala, they killed, you know, Bast. And yeah, I still don't like Bast, because Bast, you know, he's an asshole. But I can't really be super mad, because the problem becomes Bast is just raised by the tribe, and the tribe doesn't like the outcast. So he's just a spitting mirror image of the tribe, and that's all he is. That's all he's, you know, not gonna be, but that's all he was raised to be. He was not raised to be pretty much any different. And so I can't really be mad at that. I can't really be like, oh man, you know, fuck Bass, this and that. But Vala, I wish she was still alive, because I feel like Vala would have been a fantastic character to kind of know more about, where she teaches us, you know, things that her mother taught us, and you know, she was somebody we were competitive with. So I feel like she would have been a great character to even have as a companion, you know, and something like that, or to that extent. Like the visuals of the Proving was just fantastic. Like, the visuals of Mother's Heart, or Mother's Crown, or whatever it's called, that's like, it was so great. Like, it looked so amazing. Now I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you guys for watching all the way up to this extent. Please let me know in the comments, or just message, I guess, or I don't know how that's gonna work because I'm still new. But you know, if you have feedback, you know, what we're gonna do next is go do basically what you're looking at. Is we're gonna do Seekers or the War Chief stuff, and also gonna go to that blue spot, and you'll see that in the next episode. But either way, thank you once again for actually watching the full episode.